Hi everyone, my name is Gabriel and this is the Hour of the Raven, your channel for everything Ravenloft, RPG, Dungeons and Dragons, and horror. Today we are going to unveil the secrets of Ivana Boritsi, the seductive and manipulative Black Widow, and the Dark Lord of Borca. Are you ready? Inside a secret chamber in the Misericordia Hall, we searched among Ivana's possession for the Amulet of Souls, in order to fulfill our profane pact with Inahira. Our search did not lead us to the amulet, but we discovered a book containing reminiscences of the Dark Lord of Borca herself. Hour of the Raven.
Oh dear, come with me. Accompany me to a more private place, far from this festive hall. I see how you have been looking at me all night, with thirsty eyes through your mask. Are you enchanted by my beauty, or are you one of my cousin Ivan's spies? It does not matter. Come closer, taste the touch of my lips. What is the problem, dear? Didn't you enjoy the taste of my kiss? Beauty is the most powerful of masks. It hides the most cruel and treacherous monsters in plain sight.
Ivana Boritsi is the Dark Lord of Borca, sharing the post of Dark Lord of this domain with her cousin Ivan Disliznia. Ivana is also known as the Black Widow, given the number of victims who, enchanted by her beauty, fell victim to her poisonous and murderous touch. Ivana Boritsi's character adapts themes of temptation, seduction, corruption, and murder to the gothic horror setting. She is a femme fatale, a beautiful and seductive woman, but those who are attracted by her appearance end up finding death in the lips of the treacherous poisoner. Ivana Boritsi is currently 68 years old, but she looks the same as she did when she was just 18, without aging a single day. She has long black hair and striking blue eyes, and wears loose provocative dresses that accentuate her sensuality. The only taint in Ivana's appearance is her lips and nails, which have a sickly purplish blue hole. She hides these marks with careful use of makeup. When Ivana falls asleep, her body is disfigured and it becomes like that of a victim of poison. Her face swells, her tongue becomes protruding and dark, and her skin turns grey, marked by black veins. This disfigurement disappears about 1 minute after she awakens, but her appearance returns to that of a beautiful young woman. Unaware, could see in her gesture a sweet, cheerful, and innocent girl, but those who manage to see beyond her facade perceive a manipulative, cruel, and misanthropic person. Ivana is fully aware of her beauty and appearance, and knows how to adopt countless facets to deceive and seduce those she intends to manipulate. Ivana lives a decadent and hedonistic lifestyle, amid luxuries and excesses. This lifestyle hides a lonely and bitter person who, despite yearning for company, has deep distrust of any affective relationship, especially the men she so easily manipulates. The Dark Lady of Borca does not have great combat skills, but usually is surrounded by hired guards and men absolutely devoted or enslaved by her charms. She is a master poisoner, and knows the secret to powerful substance capable of varying effects. She is never totally unprotected, as a mysterious figure always accompanies her from a distance. A mute and small man, with cheerful and colorful clothes, is always close to Ivana. Known only as the Jungler, this jester is a skilled swordsman, and some claim that he has Vistani blood. Ivana is immune to any toxin and is always able to detect the presence of poisons at any time. In the past, she used a powerful magic poison that saturated her body to murder her first victim. These toxins still flow through her veins today, and the touch of her lips transmits a lethal toxin that will kill in a matter of seconds. Ivana used some magical artifacts such as bracelets, rings and dresses, which in addition to adorning her body, give her magical protection against attacks. She inherited her post of Cephasa in Borca when her mother, Camille Borizzi, died of poisoning in mysterious circumstances. She is the great landowner in Borca, but since the Grand Conjunction, her kingdom has been unified with the realm of Dorvinia, and she has signed treaties and contracts sharing power with her cousin Ivan Disliznia. When Ivana wants to close the borders of her domain, Borca's air becomes a catalyst, and any liquid ingested in Borca will become a potent poison as soon as someone crosses the border. Those who have consumed any liquid in the past 48 hours will feel nauseous and die within minutes unless they immediately return to Borca. But what secrets surround the seductive Black Widow of Borca? What macabre crimes and sins have turned the beautiful young noblewoman into a bitter murderess and poisoner? Ivana Borizzi is the eldest daughter of Camille Borizzi, the former Dark Lord of the domain of Borca. She was born during Camille Borizzi's second marriage to Klaus Borizzi, a member of an important family of traders of Borca. The marriage lasted a few years, and the couple had 3 children, with Ivana born in 689 of the Barovian calendar. On the same date as Ivana's birth, her cousin Ivan Disliznia was born, in another branch of the family. As a child, Ivana and Ivan became close friends, and the coincidence of their birth date made many refer to them as the twins. Despite their proximity, the young Ivan soon began to reveal disturbing behaviors. But Ivana was always seen as a sweet and loving child. Ivana was close to her father, Klaus Borizzi. When the young girl turned 8 years old, her father acquired a painted panel of wood and ivory depicting iconographies of Ezra's life. The icon of Ezra was created by Denzin, a renowned local artist from Borca, and caught Klaus' attention because of the similarity between the image of Ezra and his own daughter. A few days after giving his daughter this artifact, Ivana's father was horribly murdered. Camilla discovered that Klaus cheated on her with a servant and became close friend to her maid. She gave her husband's lover scented oils as a gift, knowing she would use them on a date with her husband. The adulterous couple lay together using these scented oils, and both were victims of a fatal toxin, which melted the skin of their bodies. In a space of just 2 years, the young Ivana witnessed her mother marrying 2 more times. Her mother's 3rd marriage also ended in treason, but Stefan Tarayan escaped Camille's revenge and managed to flee away from Borca with his lover. Her mother's 4th marriage to Olle Fortich ended in tragedy. Olle tried to assassinate Camille shortly after the wedding, but the astute ruler managed to avoid the attack and cornered Olle. Her new murderous husband begged for his life and confessed that he was just a pawn in a wide conspiracy of her entire family, who intended to take power in Borca. Although we may never know whether Olle was telling the truth about this conspiracy or seeking to blame others to save himself, Camille showed no forgiveness and poisoned Olle. Then, fearing that her entire family was conspiring against her, Camille poisoned everyone who attended to her husband's funeral. This macabre act by Camille decimated many members of the Disliznia lineage, among them her elder brother Yakov, who at the time was the first praetorius of the Church of Ezra, the highest authority of the faith. After these unsuccessful attempts at marriage, and the alleged betrayal of her family, Camille returned to use the surname Borizzi from her second marriage. Although beautiful and powerful, she rejected future major proposals and political alliances. Camille developed a deep hatred and resentment towards men, and saw betrayals everywhere. Ivana grew up under the tutelage of Camille, and without the presence of any other family reference. Camille intended to educate her daughter according to her bitter experiences, passing on to the young woman her paranoia and misanthropy. Despite the education she received from her mother, she was unable to fully poison Ivana's heart. At 17, she fell in love with Peter, a poet and musician who worked in Levkarest. Peter did not seem to be interested in the charms of the beautiful Ivana, but this rejection only made Ivana fall even more in love with the artist. Afraid of losing Peter's love, and of her mother's rejection to the affair, the young Ivana decided to pray to Ezra, asking the goddess to intervene on her behalf. Facing the dancing icon of Ezra, she discovered that the wooden panel presented by her father had magical properties. While praying to Ezra, the panels with Ezra iconography showed her the first encounter with Peter in the past, a scene in which she played a harp and enchanted Peter, and a scene where she kissed Peter, with her mother watching the scene and smiling in the background. After this vision, Ivana showed interest in music to attract Peter's attention. The vision was confirmed, and the artist began to consider the young noblewoman's attention, and the two became romantically involved. Camille, however, could not bear to see her daughter's happiness in love. Taking advantage of her physical resemblance to Ivana, Camille entered Peter's room in the darkness of night, posing as her daughter. It was all a setup, however, for young Ivana to discover them in the act, and to learn the hard lesson her mother wanted to teach her. After the discovery of the betrayal, Ivana was traumatized, and Camille took advantage of the situation to poison Ivana's heart. She told her doctor that she had been seduced by Peter, and advised her to punish him in the traditional Disliznia way, with a fatal poison. Following her mother's advice, Ivana sought a contact from a necromancer, who sold her a powerful magic toxin, which would saturate her body with poison. The toxin would not hurt her, but the mere touch of her lips would transmit a fatal poison. Imbued with this poison, she called Peter to resume her relationship, and in a loving embrace, she granted her lover her fatal kiss, finally completing the vision that the icon of Ezra had shown her. The magic poison that Ivana used to murder Peter still ran through her veins, pumped by her bitter and broken heart. The toxins preserved her beauty and youth forever, but they turned the touch of her lips into a deadly weapon. At night, when she sleeps, unconscious in her luxurious bed, her body transforms, looking like a victim of her fatal kiss. Bitter and lonely, Ivana devoted herself to revenge. Camille managed to poison Ivana's heart, convincing her doctor of the treacherous nature of men and the uselessness of love. Ivana spent the next few years close to her mother, learning from her, discovering the Disliznia family's secrets about the use of poisons, and how to manipulate people and prepare against betrayals. She never forgot, however, her mother's role in the traumatic breakup with Peter, and began to plan her revenge. Deepening her studies on poisons, Ivana began to look for a way to replicate the magic poison that turned her into a living weapon. Having discovered that the dancing icons of Ezra could show her visions about the future, she began to pray before the panel, asking for visions, and through these artifacts she discovered about the macabre Deathstone, kept in the basements of Misericordia Hall. The artifact filled with ancient hieroglyphs, had been brought in from distant lands by explorers, and was forgotten among the possessions of the Boritsi family. Although such an object was created to store souls, Ivana found that the powder extracted from this artifact could be used to create an infusion of toxins, which would transform the body of a target into a living weapon, the Immortanons, the embodiment of poison. For some years, she deepened her research until she reached the final formula. The victims of these toxin infusions enter a comatose state and remain 15 days between life and death. Those who survived this process became Immortanons and gained supernatural strength. The mere touch of these creatures can transmit a powerful poison, and they must wear gloves and clothing to prevent unwanted contact. Like their master and creator Ivana, a kiss from these creatures is lethal and could kill an individual in mere moments. The great tragedy of the existence of these creatures is that they are solitary and totally deprived of contact with the body of another living creature. Although they are immune to all kinds of poison, they are not immune to the touch of members of their own kind, and they live a solitary existence. The first of the Immortanons, created by Ivana Boritsi, was Nostalgia Romaine, her best friend throughout her adolescence. Ivana developed the powerful Immortanon breeding compound and convinced Nostalgia to be the subject of her first experiment. After infusing Nostalgia with her toxins, Ivana used her best friend as a weapon to kill her mother, Camille Boritsi, that then was the Dark Lord of Borca. Playing with her mother's paranoia, she pretended that the Misericordia Hall was being attacked by armed men, sent by noble traitors to depose her. Nostalgia, who had always lived in the court of Camille, invaded the rooms of the Dark Lord of Borca to warn her of the danger. Together, they fled through a secret passage that led out of the palace. Preparing to flee, Camille realized that Ivana was waiting for her in the carriage. The vindictive young woman revealed herself to her mother, so that she would know the face of her murderer. Camille barely had time to react, and she realized her daughter's betrayal, when Nostalgia grabbed her by surprise and kissed her lips. Camille died a few moments after the kiss, to the sound of her daughter's laughter. When Camille's body was found, killed by a powerful poison, many suspected Ivana's involvement. Dissatisfied with Camille's arbitrary and absolute government, Borca's treacherous nobility plotted a way to depose Ivana from her post, but many considered the young woman innocent and foolish enough that she could be controlled by the aristocracy. Ivana inherited her mother's lands and titles, and was able to calm the interests of Borca's treacherous elite. She delegated power and responsibility to the staples, serving the interests of the elite, and getting rid of the administrative responsibilities of her government. Borca's wealthy merchants and bankers were happy to ascend to the nobility, and Ivana raised fees and taxes to pay for her exuberant lifestyle and a growing and parasitic aristocracy. Parallel to this concession to the aristocracy of Borca, Ivana ensured that the true power in her lands never left her hands, and she increased her family's control over Borca resources and wealth. Her middle brother, Anton Boritsi, took control of the Boritsi Trading Company and expanded its influence and reach to several lands of the core. The younger brother, Count Suolo Boritsi, was appointed by Ivana as the Stapan responsible for the capital Levkarest, and Ivana maintained control of Borca within close ranks of the Boritsi family. In addition to the control by her family, Ivana increased the number of Immortanons in her service, capturing victims among the beautiful and young or among exceptionally talented artists. She continued to subject such victims to her toxin compound. Ivana stimulates her creation to a life of hedonistic excess and pleasures. The Immortanons became assassins at Ivana's service, and are led by Nostalgia Romaine, the first of her creations. Nostalgia developed the poison of life, extracted from the bodies of many murdered men, and managed to remain eternally young and beautiful, just like her master and creator, Ivana. Through the secrets of this compound, she keeps the Mordenungs loyal to Ivana, so that they can remain forever young and beautiful. Ivana's rise to power was accompanied a few years later by the unveiling of the mist of a new part of the ancestral lands of Borca, the mountainous region that would come to be known as Dorvinia. Another nobleman of her family came to power in that region, and Ivan Desliznia became the ruler of those lands. The tension over a possible invasion and war with Falkovnia still hung as a threat in Borca. Unexpectedly, Drakov's troop attacked the kingdom of Dorvinia. The Golden Claw massacre ended with the deaths of hundreds in Lichburg, but all Falkovian troops also perished, victims of a powerful poison. To this day, Ivan Desliznia boasts that it was he who infiltrated enemy troops and poisoned the soldiers. After this new attack from Vlad Drakov, Ivana agreed to Borca's entry into the Treaty of the Four Towers, an alliance of mutual defense against Falkovnia that involved the kingdoms of Demoli, Mordant, Hishmulor, Borca and Dorvinia. The name of the Four Towers comes not from the number of nations involved, but from the signatory families, Gnol, Weremer, Renier and Desliznia. The Dark Twins, as Ivana and Ivan became known, were childhood friends and always kept Borca and Dorvinia as allied nations, commercial and political partners. When the Grand Conjunction took place in 740 of the Barovian calendar, both kingdoms were shaken by tremors and supernatural forces, and Ivan and Ivana left the isolation of their courts and went to meet each other, seeking mutual support. Ivan was the one who went to the halls of Misericordia and conspired in secret with Ivana. They held weeks of intense negotiations, and after intrigues, bribes and threats between members of both courts, they signed a treaty for the unification of the kingdoms, and both realms were unified as the current nation of Borca. A new balance of power and alliances had been struck between the Dark Twins. Ivan Desliznia has dedicated himself to consolidating Borca's military forces, and many accuse him of commanding a dangerous network of informants, assassins and spies, who would directly interfere in the policy of neighboring kingdoms. Ivana, in turn, maintains a life of luxuries and excess, but guarantees indentures, taxes, commercial and diplomatic agreements that ensure a constant flow of wealth to her coffers, coming from outside and within her kingdom. As time passes, the relationship between the two cousins has deteriorated, while a constant struggle for power is waged in the shadows. Ivan is now an aged and resentful man, but still astute and cruel. Ivana's eternal beauty and youth seem to cause great disturbance to him. Ivana remains eternally young and beautiful, but lives a life of bitterness and loneliness. She still yearns secretly for love, but she has learned to distrust displays of affection and despise men. She knows that the poison that runs through her body will prevent her from finding a lasting companion, and in a vindictive way she takes special pleasure in destroying happy relationships, whether by seduction or intrigue. Ivana dedicates herself to a life of luxury and hedonistic pleasures, and has fun manipulating the men around her. Many were those who, in love with the beauty and charming Ivana, enter a dangerous game of seduction until they found their end on the fatal lips of the Black Widow. Most of the time they disappear and their bodies are found floating in the river, but sometimes Ivana claims to have been attacked by her victims, justifying their deaths as the legitimate defense of her honor. Among the high society of Borca, many secretly refer to Ivana as the Black Widow, due to the constant death of those who court her. However, the figure of the beautiful, rich and powerful Dark Lord of Borca continues to attract the unwary or greedy, like moths to the flame. While we are reading Ivana's memoirs, we hear footsteps and voices approaching the room. We quickly return to the secret passage and watch her through the gap when the beautiful Ivana enters her room, accompanied by a young man, a lively aristocrat. We quickly try to walk away down the secret corridor, but our movements are less stealthy than we expected, and the lively laughter in Ivana's room is suddenly silenced. Fearing that we shall be discovered, we accelerate our steps to escape Misericordia Hall. Back on the streets of Lefkarest, we fled in panic, imagining that guards will soon be on our trail. Seeking to avoid city guards, we came close to the city walls. Hesitating to pass through the gates, we watched the movement of travelers, looking for a distraction. We soon identified a theatrical troupe preparing to leave Lefkarest for Lichburg, and we quickly approached their leader, offering our services for the company of the trip. Seeing an opportunity to extort us, he charges a bribe, but accepts us into their midst, disguising us as members of the troupe. We escape from Lefkarest and Ivana's guards, and follow the road to Lichburg, where the entertainers are preparing for their theatrical performance for the infamous Ivan Desliznia on his estate, the Gravel Mansion. On our journey, we discovered the truth about this band. This theatrical group is nothing more than an experienced band of thieves, and they were hired to infiltrate the Gravel Mansion to search for old documents, the records about the birth of Ivan Desliznia's stillborn sons, with his slave wife Lucretia. This opportunity to explore the Gravel Mansion in search of its secret treasures is our chance to find the whereabouts of the Amulet of Souls, the treasure that may possibly be in the possession of the infamous Ivan Desliznia, and we quickly join the band of thieves. Join us, subscribe to this channel, and together we will explore the Gravel Mansion and reveal the past and secrets of Ivan Desliznia, the infamous poisoner and the Dark Lord of Porka.